Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Togger.
What's up, guys? Glad to be back. I apologize. My lighting's really crappy. I have nasty overhead lights, and I had to shut the window, which is usually my natural light, because I got some excavators out front taking out a tree. So, if I'm on mute, it's because that's really loud. But we're here. We're happy. We got Madison as well.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo that we're wearing our AC Milan ball caps this week, so looks like I'll have to order one of those so I can be one of the boys.
But we're matching shirts or sweaters, so that's what really matters.
Yeah, that's true.
AJ's got two. He should send you one.
He has the one that I want,
yeah,
but I'm not going to order it from the Milan website because shipping's twice as expensive as a goddamn hat.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah.
They really need to bring back the other stores that they used to have, like back in the day. They used to have a China store. Obviously, Europe stayed the same, but I'm fairly sure they used to have a US store as well. Or just get a distributor over there, you know.
They used to have one for sure when I was at Adidas.
Yeah, that was
their site every once in a while to check because they have the hats. They just don't have the beige one.
So that one's been selling out fast. I don't know how I got lucky to get it, but I was looking for that one, and then I realized it was upstairs when I was already in the office. But this one I usually have displayed, so it's got like a big crinkle on the top from the hook on the wall. But whatever, you can't tell right now.
Yeah, boys, international break is almost over. Before we dive into this week's episode, must say thank you to our Substack founding members. I was going to try and reel the list off by heart, but in case I forget anyone, I'm not going to do it. It's Des Windsor McGlynn, Ali Tareen, Tito Mac, Moritz Pullman, Joey Gawler, Kemin, MJ, and Mats. Mats had his question answered as part of last week's bonus episode, so go and check that out if you haven't done already. And stay tuned for this week's bonus episode where we're going to be talking about some transfer regrets that we might have accrued over the years. In addition to that, I know a few people have been sending us questions to discuss on the main podcast about potential Pioli successors, how long we think he has. We speak about it like once a month or something like that usually when we've been in a bad run of games. But an article that's gone out today on our Substack outlines the kind of profile that we might be looking to go for because there was a rumor that came out saying we'd contacted Antonio Conte, kind of debunks all of that. And it outlines the style of head coach that we're going to be looking for next. So go and check it out on the Substack if you haven't already. Link in the description. You can try 7 days for free. International break then. The only things of note that happened, because we've got so many injured players, is that Olivier Giroud scored France's 13th and 14th goals against Gibraltar. Big goals, obviously, to seal the deal. You can never leave anything to chance. One of them was an overhead kick, like Leao's against PSG. So, Grande Rafa for teaching him that. And then Teo got an assist for one of the goals as well. Tamari got a start for England against Malta. I was there. He played left back. He didn't have anything to do, really. Got a yellow card for what was a mistimed tackle, but one where he got studded in the ankle, came off at half-time, but it turns out that he's fine. There's a few games to happen this week still as well, on Tuesday, Wednesday as well. But that's it. Nothing really to report on the international break front. So we're going straight into the Fiorentina preview. San Siro, Saturday night. It's a night kickoff, not an early kickoff, which bodes well. Fiorentina, I don't know if you knew this, probably did know this, but Fiorentina are 3 points behind us and would go above us with a win.
They're going to be above us by Sunday, so.
No, nothing short of total victory is acceptable here. We've gone too long without a win in the league. I have family watching their first ever Milan game for this game. I will not be laughed at. I refuse. So
they're laughing at you regardless.
They sure are. I'm fully aware. They weren't too excited when I said we have to do this on Thanksgiving weekend, but it's my house. I'm in charge, so they're doing it. But yeah, we got to win. We unfortunately don't have Leao. We don't have Giroud. It's going to be a little tough. So we need Pulisic back firing on all cylinders. Is Loftus-Cheek going to be back for this?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge... should have a full starting 11 minus Giroud, so we'll be stronger.
And Leao.
Oh, Leao, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Two-thirds of the attack missing. Yeah. We talked about this a little bit in last main episode about the attacking or the front three that we'd each start, if it is going to be a front three, because obviously there's talk of us sticking with the 4-2-3-1, in which case I suppose it's kind of a front four with Loftus-Cheek or Reinders in behind. But thinking specifically left wing, striker, right wing, we don't have Giroud, 2-game suspension that's been officially confirmed. Leao is expected to come back for the Dortmund game. He won't be risked for this one, although I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe is able to play sort of a 20 minutes warm-up stint off the bench or something, because to throw him then straight into a start seems difficult. But last week, I think I said Chukwueze on the right, Okafor down the middle, Pulisic on the left, presuming all are fully fit. I'm sticking with that. I feel like that's our best chance. People are saying, oh, it's got to be Jovic against his former club, but like his whole season is he's got something to prove, and so far he's had 2 shots and none on target. You know, like I'm past the point of giving this guy starts at the moment until he comes off the bench and proves that he knows what to do in a game. But yeah, that the front 3 you guys would pick.
Yeah, I mean, Okafor has as many goals as Jovic has shots all season, so that tells you everything you need to know about the striker situation. We're lucky that we have 2 guys on right wing, and Pulisic can play left wing as well. I am nervous because then we don't have any off the bench options for either wing, really. I mean, we have Luca Romero, but I don't put a whole lot of faith in him. He's young, good player, talented, but he's still young. So I don't know. That scares me a little bit. And if someone gets hurt, then we're in a lot of trouble, and that's kind of been the trend. So I'm almost tempted to just do Pulisic, Jovic, and Okafor, and then at least we have Chukwueze to bring off on the bench or bring on from the bench. But it's not ideal, is it?
No, it's not.
No, but after all the rest over the break, they should be healthy.
I agree, and Pulisic didn't get called up, so that's a big boost.
Yeah.
It's a very much so a double-edged sword, right? Because you don't want Jovic to start, but like Luca Romero, he'd probably do better than, he'd probably do better on the right wing than Jovic would do down the middle if Chukwueze got injured. So
yeah,
it's like gotta pick your battles, and I don't want Jovic to be in any part of the battle.
The other thing to consider is it's 3 games in 7 days, right? Or 3 games in 8 days, something like that, with Dortmund and a must-win Champions League fixture, and then I can't remember who's after that. But
we're at home again. We've got 3 home games in the space of 8 days. I believe it's.
Who's the third game?
I can't remember who. It's a lower.
That pitch is going to be in rough shape.
I think it's Salernitana.
Maybe it is Salernitana. I can't remember. I'm checking right now. It's Frosinone.
That's it. I knew it was.
Yeah, I knew it was a lower guy.
Long name.
Which is scary, honestly, after it all. So that's rough. We got to definitely manage our guys, which is why I think maybe don't. I mean, for that one, we'll have Giroud back, we'll have Leao back, and we'll have both of them back as well for the Dortmund game. So I guess that's a big plus. So maybe we can just risk it. Maybe we do go all out for this one.
If you're in Pioli's position, you have to risk it, right? Like, he is in no position to be putting himself in a position to lose games. Period.
Yeah. Yeah. I still think we're some way away from seeing him sacked mid-season. I think it would take something catastrophic. Perhaps we lose Fiorentina, we lose our last 2 games in the Champions League groups, and then, it looks like the season's fallen apart early and it's kind of a write-off to begin with. But while we're still fighting to be in the top 4, while we've still got Champions League knockout football at stake. But you're right, there is no such thing as a game where you can just go out and hope that the backups do the job anymore. We saw back end of last season that cost us valuable points, and what was a Scudetto battle going into the World Cup break ended up being, oh my God, we're going to miss out on the top 4 here. And that just can't happen. So it's important that we return to winning ways after 4 games without a win in the league. And, a couple of those having impressive first half performances that we then threw away. And then the other 2 being 1-0 losses at home. So we've got to get goals. We've got to get the fans back on side, because I think if we start this game badly, those 70,000 fans that are usually working in our favor can so quickly turn into something, against us. Like when they get restless, it can be tough.
Yeah. And the other thing for the team to consider is first and second, Juve and Inter play each other. And then fourth and fifth in Napoli Atalanta play each other. So 2 of the 4 teams on either side of us will be dropping points minimum this weekend. We have to take advantage of that. We got to give us a little bit of a buffer. We got to make up some ground. So there really is no excuse here. And unless they all draw, that I guess that's ideal. Then it's 2 points on all 4 of them. But
yeah.
That's a big ask.
You can argue that a loss this weekend and a loss to Dortmund is top 4 in trouble, and Champions League is done.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I would agree.
Yeah.
In that case, it's like, do you sack Pioli, right? Like, do you wait longer to see if it gets better, or
I mean, I know that it's an entirely different ownership model at Napoli because De Laurentiis is notably hot-headed. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But look how long it took them to make a change. He was like, I see this, it's not working. Let's try something else. He's brought in Massari and not Igor Tudor. Apparently tried for Conte again and got turned down. But, all of a sudden Napoli, after having a historically good season and winning the league after over 30 years without one, have become the symbol of chaos in the league again. So it just goes to
was
show.
Going to happen, though.
We did kind of have a feeling that might happen, yeah. And they're very much
don't have a lot of room.
No, we don't. Worst title defense ever might be taken off our hands. We'll see. Fiorentina, anyway. I predicted them, I believe. I'd have to look this up, but I think I predicted them to finish 7th this season. And it's around about where everybody predicts them to finish every season because they're just that team that's got talent in their squad. I would say more at the front than at the back. They're going to play exciting football the majority of the time, but that leaves them susceptible to lose games that they should win and win games that they should lose. This season, if you look at it, they spent 3 weeks of it in the top 4, which is pretty good for them. I mean, they're not really a serious top 4 candidate, but if they beat us, then they'll be staking that claim. But the teams that they've lost to, they lost 4-0 against Inter. They lost 2-0 at home to Empoli in what is a bit of a derby for them. They lost to Lazio and they lost to Juve. So every time they've had the opportunity to stake their claim for a European, potentially a Champions League spot in the biggest game, they've kind of fallen at that hurdle. They've lost 3 of their last 4 as well in the league. So they're having a little bit of a stutter into this game, albeit they won their last game against Bologna with a penalty. So they're up and down.
So are we right now. A little bit. Like you said, you predict them for 7th, and that's a safe prediction. I think they're always going to be a team who's at best fighting for Europa League qualification. I think they have plenty of fumbles in them every season, but they also have a couple upsets. I hope this isn't the upset because you named off the bunch of big teams they've already lost to, so there's not many left for them to drop the ball against, and it might be us. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we could overcome it because I think our guys understand the gravity of the situation. So do theirs, but we have to take advantage of this. There's no, I know tactical analysis is a lot more important than gut feeling, but I just feel like there's no chance we don't come out here guns blazing. And I'll be worried if we go into halftime at 2-0 up again. I need a 3-0. I need 3-1.
That's like a 1-0 rather than
it is.
Fiorentina. This is just something that I'm reading now. Fiorentina are expected to change formation for the game because they've got quite a few injury absences, the same as us, I suppose, to go with the Christmas tree. Now that spikes a little bit of fear in me. But they've got Nzola up front. Bonaventura has actually been scoring goals this season. Nico Gonzalez is probably their main threat. They've got Beltran and Kwame who can play on the left. Arthur Melo's there. Alfred Duncan. Milenkovic is still there. He's never really got that big move. Biragi and Parisi are the fullbacks. They've got some names. Like there's a few players there who I think would be knocking on the door to get in our squad, at the very least, our match day squad. So, they've got the weapons to hurt us. I think the one thing that plays into our hands slightly with this, if you look at their record this season, they don't know how to set up to frustrate, really. They're playing to win every game, which is admirable. But what would we most like to be playing at this stage, given the crisis we have? It's a team that's going to open up a little bit and give us something. And that's also feeds into why I'd start Okafor over Jovic against his former team. I just think that we've got to be looking to hurt them down the channels and with movement, because when that back four's exposed, as has been proven, they lost 4-0 to Inter earlier in the season, for example. When the back four's exposed, they do concede goals, and that's kind of been the shortcoming of this Italiano version of Fiorentina. that is about it, really. I guess let's do a little prediction. I'm going to say that we get the job done, and I think we'll come from behind to do it. I think we will win 2-1. We'll be 1-0 down at halftime, and we will produce a response. The winning goal will be scored by Samuel Chukwueze.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Just feeling.
I think this is the perfect game for Liao, who unfortunately cannot make it today. So that scares me because it really is. Like you said, they're going to be open. They're going to be available. And that's exactly where Liao flourishes. So thinking that Pulisic is going to be there, because Teo's going to play the way Teo plays regardless. Well, hopefully if he decides to. I think we're going to get the job done. I think it's going to be 3-1. And I think Pulisic's going to get a brace.
I think it's going to be 2-1, like Ollie. I think Bonaventura is going to score because he should have never left.
Yeah.
And Pulisic's going to get a brace. Nah, Okafor is going to get a brace.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I'm
but
fully
like open
Okafor.
play brace, not like an Giroud brace where we get 2 penalties.
It's mad. I calculated yesterday that Giroud is on pace for a 24-goal season. He's not going to do that, I don't think. But like when you consider that he started the season red hot, which he did, to be fair, he scored 5 goals in our first 3 games. I know 4 of them were penalties, but they're goals. They are goals. And then he went on a massive drought of like almost 2 months without scoring. And now he's back to, got the brace against Napoli, scored against Lecce, scored against PSG in the Champions League. And everyone's like, okay, he can still do a job. And then, I calculated it. Even with that drought, he's on pace to score 24 goals. As I say, I don't expect him to keep up this pace. And if anything, I would like us to sign a striker in January to take the load off him a little bit. But you've just got to tip your hat sometimes and say 37, going to be 38 later this year. And he's still scoring goals for club and country. Like that.
His best finish for us was 18, right? The Scudetto season in all comps?
Yes.
Say that again?
That's good. All comps. Yeah, you're right. It was in all comps. Yeah, because I think we
were the exact same.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I think it was one of them had more goals in the Champions League and the other in the league. Like that was what evened it up in all comps.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, again, as I say, fair play to him. I have criticised him on this podcast a lot during the drought. I think it was warranted because he wasn't giving us anything in terms of overall play. But you just got to take a step back and think, hang on, this guy is working overtime. He's starting for France, although he came off the bench against Gibraltar, but he's been starting games for France. He starts every big game for us, and yet he's still finding these goals. And sounds like we're going to give him another 1-year extension. And probably sign 2 strikers to complement him, or sign a striker and have Colombo work alongside him. That's fine by me. But yeah, big up Ollie G, I guess. Any talking points? I'm not sure there are, to be honest. It's been so dead. Like I've been lucky to have sort of 3 or 4 days off over this international break, which has been nice given that the team have been in a rut of form, and it's been good just to get away from the toxic nature of Twitter and everything. But I don't remember an international break this subdued in terms of stories either. We were expecting that this would be the break where Zlatan's return was formally announced, because it seemed like the ideal moment to do so, but it hasn't yet, and there's rumours that it might not be announced for a little while yet. That Jerry's coming over for the Dortmund game and is gonna speak to him then, and I guess sign the contracts, whatever, or maybe he still has some doubts to resolve. There's been some transfer links, the usual strikers, the usual defenders, but very little concrete has happened.
I got one talking point. It's minor. It's not really senior team related, but we opened an academy in my hometown here. Not hometown, but my current town, DC.
What is your hometown? I feel like you move every
exactly.
Years.
I think it's almost heaven. West Virginia is where he's based.
I've been in West Virginia once in my life, and it was driving through it. No, but outside of DC, in Virginia here in Fairfax, Reston area for those familiar. So we got a youth academy here for boys and girls, ages 7 through 17. So if you got kids and you're in the area, bring them out. They're doing tryouts, and I believe they're taking the kids who actually make the official team from those tryouts to Milan to train at Milanello with the team. So.
Oh no, they're going to pick up injuries. that is no bueno. Yeah, hopefully they mean the Puma House of Football where the kids train, because I'm not sure about that Milanello pitch and their calves. That is genuinely good news, and I think it speaks to what we've all suspected. We're trying to increase and expand our influence around the world, but in particular in America to get a foothold in that market. No surprise with Jerry and with Redbird that's what we're trying to do. I did find it funny that the way that you found out was Isaac putting in the chat, "Oh, we've opened an academy in America," and he didn't think to mention that it was in your state and a town like 10 minutes down the road.
I don't think Isaac knows anything about United States geography.
No.
I mean, I feel like he should have known that one of his mates lives in Virginia, but
anyway,
here we
at the very least, hey, it's in your state,
Yeah.
Like, I don't expect him to know that it's
does
right
Isaac
next to
know
me,
that you live in Virginia, or does he think that you live in DC?
He probably thinks he lives in West Virginia.
I don't know. Yeah, honestly, with as much as you guys say West Virginia every time I talk about where I'm at, like, he probably thinks that's where I live, but
clearly I'm not paying attention because I didn't know that was an ongoing joke.
Unfortunately, it drives me fucking crazy. It's died down since some people left, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that song as well is that John Denver was singing it from the perspective of being in Virginia, and he was driving home to West Virginia because Blue Ridge Mountain and Shenandoah River are actually in Virginia. So there you go.
They're beautiful if you've ever been. So
why do you know all of this?
I don't know. I didn't know that, but
because I once saw a shit post and it was like, what was John Denver talking about? And it was a map and it labeled where the river and the mountain was. And it's so clearly in Virginia and not West Virginia. But then it's like someone explained the lyrics. Oh, he's driving home through
the shit you learn on social media.
Fucking wild, isn't it? It might be total bollocks. Like he could have been driving from somewhere completely different. Yeah, it does.
Well, for all you know, he wrote the song in Denver, right?
Or maybe he just needed an extra syllable. Oh, John Denver. Nice. Yeah. Okay, right. We're going to move on to questions. And as mentioned, bonus episode. We'll do a longer bonus episode this week to make up for the fact that we've got so little to talk about on the main podcast. So stay tuned for that. As said, the theme is going to be transfer regrets. I think what we're going to do is we're all going to come to the table with a list of names and we're going to debate the ones that we regret and the ones that maybe we don't so much. So that should be fun. A bit of a hot takes type thing as well. Anyway, Gregory Peck asks, Leao tracking back debate. Sachi seems to moan about this. Do you prefer him tracking back or staying up there with Giroud and having someone else cover the space?
I like him tracking back. I think it's helpful. It helps us win balls more in our box, and then he could just take off. The downside is he's faster than everyone else. So when he does get up there, then he's on his own, and he either needs to try to beat everyone to take the shot himself or wait for someone to catch up. And then, it also waits for the opposition to catch up as well. But I like him tracking back. One more player to help defensively is huge. And he showed he can do it. Obviously, he was exhausted and then got hurt. But I like it. I think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Idea.
I think if he was more of like a stationary striker, I'd want him to stay up top, but he's a very mobile player, so he should be tracking back.
I think it depends a little bit on the opponent as well. There are some teams that will come, as we saw with Udinese, for example, and the other teams that come to San Siro and play a low block. I don't think it makes too much sense for Leao to drop back, tuck in, follow runners and stuff like that, because we should have enough in there to win the ball back. And then if you're looking for your main threat on the counter-attack and he's on the edge of your 18-yard box, I think it's a difficult look, For example, if the other team had a corner, I would rather Giroud be in the box because he's better at winning headers and Leao be on the halfway line ready to spring a break. It's different defending in open play because you've got to watch your overlapping runners and stuff. But for example, the game against PSG, with how good Hakimi is going forward, we really needed him to put a shift in defensively because otherwise Teo would have been torn apart down that side, especially with him trying to get forward like we saw him cross for the second goal. But yeah, other games, I don't think he needs to do it. I think what people have a bit of a problem with is his body language when he doesn't track back, sort of like they're expecting him to be jogging on the spot. You know what I mean? Like he's got to look busy in some way. that I'm afraid isn't how it is. Like I watched Mbappe live in the flesh when we beat PSG. He does very similar. He waits until his moment to spring into action is, and he walks around. That's what they do: conserve energy and then spring when you're ready to go. And I also think that a big portion of Leao's body language is him looking so laid back. So then when he gets going, everyone's taken by surprise, including defenders. Like to go from a standing start to boom, he's beating like Marquinhos and he's flying to the byline. That's part of Leao's. I don't know, gets you off the edge of your seat. That's part of the appeal. Like, I think it was Sachi who also said that Leao, when he plays like he did against PSG, is worth the price of admission alone. Or it might have been Nesta who said it. And I believe that is fully true. Like, he's the one born entertainer that we have. And probably the most natural entertainer since Kaká or Ronaldinho, around that era. So we got to cherish that. And I think if you try and neutralize his game too much, then it becomes difficult. But you have got to have a compact and cohesive team, because otherwise, you do get exposed quite often. The second part to his question was the FIFA Under-17 World Cup is happening. I believe it's about to start. Any players you're keeping an eye out on? USA's number 7, Berchimas, looks a talent.
Just got demolished by France 3-0.
Ooh.
It's better than Gibraltar did.
We still made it through the groups in second place with I actually don't know who else was in it.
Oh, you play Germany tomorrow morning, my time. So it looks like the usual suspects are quite good. Spain topped their group, England topped their group with Brazil in second, Argentina topped their group, France did, and Germany did. So that's kind of what you'd expect.
Here like, wait, we have a U17 team that competes at the World Cup?
I didn't know it was going on.
Oh, poor New Caledonia. They lost 10-0, 9-0, and 5-0. In their 3 games. I don't know how
did they qualify?
Canada lost all 3 games, scored 1 and conceded 10. So that is a rough do for them. Some of the fixtures that are coming up, we've got Germany, United States, England have got Uzbekistan. That's going to be a hell of a way to bottle it. Spain and Brazil have already booked their place in the knockout stages. Some talents to look out for. I only really know some of the English players for obvious reasons.
Where is it being held, this tournament?
It's being held in...
It's a really good question.
Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
Which is why they qualified. Because I was looking through the list of teams. I was like, Indonesia, that's a strange one. But yeah, it's being held in Indonesia, which is why it's such a weird time for both of us. I know there's a guy called Willian who plays for Brazil who's meant to be really good. Germany have a player who plays for Schalke called Udragao. He's a 17-year-old and we've been linked with him. Asan Udragao. I've probably butchered the pronunciation there, but yeah, him starting for Schalke at 17. It'd be like a Chow type operation. He's meant to be very good, to be starting for a team that size, albeit in the second division at that age. He's meant to be pretty. He's meant to be one of the sort of future German national team candidates. Claudio Echeverri, who plays for Argentina, is the other one who we've been linked with. So those are the names I would potentially keep an eye out on. But I'd be lying if I said that I've seen any of it, or that I know how to see it. Might be on YouTube or something.
It's on national television here.
Oh, really?
Fox Sports, yeah.
Okay, Raja asks, if you have a choice between inconsistency but immediate success versus no immediate success but long-term domination, potential long-term domination, which would you choose? I ask because the management seem to want the latter, whereas other teams like Inter are focusing on the former. Good question. Really good question.
Inter are concentrating on the former, but it tends to be the second option. Like, they've just been dominating, right? And I don't see them.
I mean, they've only won 1 title in the last.
Yeah, but they've been consistently first or second, right? We didn't qualify for Champions League last year if it wasn't for Juve being docked points.
Yeah, I mean, we've also kind of been pretty consistently first or second the last three years outside of the anomaly of last season. We
This
won the
season we
Scudetto, and the year
look
prior
like
we were
dog
second.
shit.
This season?
Yeah, we're in 4th place, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
We're in third.
Sorry,
And
Okay.
Yeah.
we're only 11 games in, and we've played some big teams. So I think I'm perfectly content with where we're at right now. I wish we
I'm
picked up
not
more points.
content at all
I'm
with
not
where
content
we're
with
at.
how some of the games have gone, but I think if you were to tell me after that fixture list with the opening 11 that we'd be in third, I'd say, all right, cool. But yeah, I think we obviously want long-term success. I think Inter's model isn't sustainable, even if they have sustained it for a few seasons now. But eventually, it crashes down. You saw what happened to Everton this weekend for minor financial fair play breaches of -10. You're going to get a team like Inter who's just racking it up.
What makes you think that Italy has the capability to do that for mismanaging your money?
Oh, UEFA do.
Yeah,
The
UEFA do.
FFP
It's
time
not.
bomb.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see reckoning day happening soon for them, but it really
Which
comes
will
down
be
to if they keep winning. That's the only way they're going to continue is if they keep winning. So if you want them to crash down, someone's got to step up and beat them, right? Like that's
yeah.
that's the only thing.
That's true. And I really thought that the season that we beat them to the Scudetto would be it. There'd be a big overhaul, and I thought certain star players, maybe like Barella, Bastoni, Lautaro, might get big offers and want to leave, but
Mhm.
for whatever reason, those core pieces seem to want to stay.
Well, they
And
did
they're
have a
getting
pretty large overhaul. I mean, last year they had 11 losses, finished third, but Lazio was second. Everyone seems to forget that because they're such a forgettable team. But
Yeah, but they this is the thing. They got top four. They reached the Champions League final, which they
Mhm.
lost, and they played pretty well in. I think most people expected City to dominate them, and it didn't really happen that way. And they won 2 trophies. They won the Super Cup
Yeah,
and the Coppa Italia. We take that. We take 2 trophies in the Champions League final, and that was
of
supposedly a
course.
pretty bad year domestically for them. We're I really think that, like, as I've said weeks in a row, we can just at the very least aspire to be the best team in the city. And at the moment, we're not that. And it pains me to say that, but they've had our number in head to head games. They've beaten us 5 times in a row. They've won more trophies than us recently. Of course, we've got that league title that hurts them, and Inzaghi still doesn't have that, but they're on course to do it this year at the rate that they're going at. The architect behind Inter's like whack-a-mole that we know they're in financial trouble. The accounts say it. They need to keep offloading big players, but the reason that they're still able to field a competitive team is because that core of like Bastoni, Di Marco, Barella, I guess Hakan now to an extent, Lautaro, that they're all here and willing to stay. And they keep finding the pieces around them that are doing a job. And that's because of Marotta. Marotta is a genius of a director. Now, the day that I think that I'm not going to call it an empire or a dynasty because it's just not that. The day that it falls apart will be when he goes, because I don't think that there's another director that they could attract with their financial situation who's able to work miracles while having to have that level of player overhaul
Well, and they're
every
still
summer.
offering the wages of a team that's not in financial constraints. That it's almost
Yeah.
like Premier League money. They're like you look at the list came out of the top paid goalkeepers and defenders in the league, and Florenzi, for whatever godforsaken reason, was our only guy on the list, and he was I think 15th. But the
12th,
rest of
but
it
yeah,
was the rest was all Juve and Inter, and I think there was like one Napoli player or something like that
How
on there.
much money is Florenzi making?
5.6 gross.
What?
So
Yeah.
like 2.9 net. But because he doesn't get growth decree, it's doubled for the gross cost.
Good for him.
Just another multi-league
Well,
disaster class, to be honest.
oh, we ought to mention, hadn't we?
He secured the bag. Good for him.
Florenzi's been.
He secured the bag with roulette.
I was going to say that, yeah. Florenzi has been investigated as part of the betting scandal, but it turns out it doesn't concern footballing matters. He just admitted to using an illegal betting platform to bet on roulette. Apparently, the prosecutor and Milan as a club have no reason to believe that he's lying about that, which is fair enough. And if something comes up, he will serve a ban. But as it stands, he just answers to the criminal part of the case, so it'll just be a fine for using an illegal platform. But yeah. Silly,
Is
because you're
betting
meant to be
online illegal in Italy? Is online gambling?
No,
There's regulated sites, and then there's like shady black market sites, and that's what he was using.
Why not just use a regulated site?
Because you're a professional
Tax.
athlete and you shouldn't be using it. And taxes. Yeah.
It's tax. It's a tax avoidance thing because you have to pay tax on your winnings.
Listen, professional athletes are allowed to gamble, just not on their sport.
I've been watching The Last Dance recently, and I know it's taken me a while to get to it, but some of the stuff about Michael Jordan's gambling, like he was betting thousands on hands of poker on the bus to games and shit. Like that's when you know you've got a problem. He's doing this whole interview saying, "I don't have a problem. I can stop whenever I do it because I'm competitive." Don't know, man. I think you might have a problem, but who am I to judge? I just lose money on parlays and accumulators every week.
He's so loaded it doesn't even matter.
It's just like he earns it in a minute, you know. But I just find it funny how ultra competitive he was because he'd then go down to the front of the bus and like bet $5 with the management on stuff because they weren't doing thousands. So this is an interesting question and one that could almost have its own episode, to be honest. We're in a bit of a state of flux with our project at the moment, and as I think we've said on here many times before, we probably won the Scudetto too early. Like, of course, we were all swept up in the ride, and I am so glad that we did go on and win the Scudetto because it was an amazing celebration, and I feel like that group of players really deserved it for the way that they held their bottle at the end of the season. But the objective, as declared by Scaroni, as declared by other members of the management, was just to finish in the top 4 year after year. Get those revenues up, then we can invest more in the squad. But at the same time, investing in young talent that would grow. We're going to rely a bit more on player trading. We'll sell the odd player for big money. We can't keep losing players on free transfers. Like we knew the bullet points of the project as it was going to be. But we won the league title early. So now everybody's expectation is, okay, we defend the league title and we go further in Europe. Well, you can't do that with the 13-man squad that we won the league with. So it needs to become a 20-man squad. We recruited some shite the summer after we won the league title. We regressed ultimately. There's no two ways about it. But we had a memorable European run. We sold Tonali, so we've got a lot of money. We bring in 10 new signings. I think if we're looking at it sort of as we are right now, the jury's out on probably half of them, and half of them look good. You know, like Loftus-Cheek has looked good. Pulisic has made a big impact. I think Okafor's done okay in the time that he's had. Reinders is now a starter. Like that's okay.
Moose out.
Moose has been really good. Yeah, to say he was one of the last additions as well. I think he's looked really good. But then fans are sort of like, well, when do we take that next step? When are we going for the Champions League finals? When are we going to build a dynasty in Serie A and like win multiple titles in a row? And I think the answer is not under this ownership, probably. The idea of long-term domination sort of insinuates that we are going to inflate our wage bill to a point where we're well ahead of the rest. The new FFP rules that are coming in dictate that in 2 years' time, you have to have a squad cost to revenue ratio of 70%. So we've got to try keep the money coming in and the revenues going up while keeping an eye on how our squad looks, because at the moment there's only us and Atalanta out of the top 7 teams that would comply with that regulation. The others are going to have to make some changes, which is something that could work in our favour. I think what you look at is 2 completely different ways fundamentally of constructing a squad. We're very much taking gambles on players in a dip that are approaching their prime years. You look at the players that we signed this summer, and young talents that have got, you know, they're a low expense and will hopefully grow, like Kalulu, like Chiao, like Pellegrino. We've seen plenty of those as well. Inter, on the other hand, their depth pieces they all tend to be in their prime years. So if they have 2 injuries to their back 3, as they have at the moment, De Vrij goes in, Damian goes in. You know that you're probably getting a 6 out of 10 performance from them every week. We're not really like that. We don't have many players in our prime. Difference is De Vrij and Damian are on the wages of some of the starting players. So you've got an overall bigger squad cost. They're built to win now. We're built to compete now and win in the future, I would say. Our fan base are rightly a bit more demanding than that. We expect to win now and to keep winning. I think there needs to just be, I guess, a little bit of I don't want to say patience, because I feel like we've had a lot of patience, but a bit of an acknowledgement of where we are and how quickly things could go bad if we decided to rip down what we're trying to do here and we just sign. We thought, okay, Origi will be good as a backup in his prime, comes from Liverpool, has scored massive goals on the biggest stage. It didn't work, you know. You take a gamble on Jovic and you think, finally, we got a backup to Giroud. He scored 13 goals last season. Didn't work. So, they go and get the free guy to Ram. It's worked. He looks really good. Like, we've got to...
The difference with those signings is, and sorry to interrupt you, but
no, it's fine.
Origi and Jovic weren't starters when we signed them. Thuram was, and the only reason he was a free agent is because he wanted a bigger project and he wanted a bigger paycheck, which you're only going to get as a free agent there. So, and that's ultimately why he chose Inter over us, right? Was he wanted the extra money to it. I know there was like the links to previous season, and he had already told him yes then, and then decided to keep that. And, I do respect that a lot because there's other players, other strikers that have played for Inter that didn't keep their word to that, looking at you, Lukaku. But so I do respect that, but also the caliber of free agent is totally different. When we're, like you said, we're buying in the dip. So when we look for a free agent, we can't be looking for the free agents that are also in the dip. The free agents are the guys that you need to be splashing on that are good, that are just looking for that next move. Obviously, okay, I'm going to name a player who is never going to come to Milan because they're just well above what we can afford. But you look at a guy like Mbappe, who's at the best of his game, who wants a new club, who refuses to renew, and who will be a free agent next year. That's the profile you're going for. Not Mbappe. It's not going to happen. I'm not saying that. I'm not foolish. But, you need to go for someone who's at that top of their game that wants the next level. And, whether it's, I don't even like Jonathan David, but Jonathan David has 12 months on his contract, or is about to come January or something. Is that someone you wait to sign when they're at 6 months left? Or is that someone you try to, get that pre-agreement with and then think, okay, they're at least going into the prime of their career. They do have the goal record history, even though I've never seen it. It's there. They exist. So, but then again, that's also in the dip. He hasn't had any goals this season, right? He's had 2. So I don't know. It's really hard to get a free agent signing correct, I think.
That David compilation, it was absolutely frightening.
I didn't know it was a serious one until I got about a minute and a half in. I thought it was a gag comp.
One of the goals is a penalty as well, I think, this season.
One of the first clips is a missed penalty.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's something not right about that. I think who is it? The Montpellier guy. I think Adams' agent has put that one out there. I've never seen a compilation make a player look that bad, apart from that Pavlidis guy that we were linked with in Holland. Good Lord, looked awful. Last thing, someone asked this last week, or they commented saying that they don't understand why I didn't talk about it, and Islam Zoghib asks it as well. Can Ollie tell us about how it was meeting and having a drink with Maldini? Every Milan fan's dream. Now, the caption for that was a bit of a joke. I didn't actually sit down and have beers with Maldini. But to cut a long story short, it was a bit of a chance encounter whereby I went with my girlfriend to watch the PSG game. She'd forgotten her belt. So we had to go into the centre to a Primark, which is a pretty cheap shop, just to get a belt for the trip. And then we decided that we were going to go down to the Canal District, the Navigli, but thought, no, that's going to take too long. Didn't do that. Thought about going to the Stadium early, some of the bars around there. Didn't do that. So we decided just to have a little walk down a back street and look for somewhere to sit down and have something to eat. We saw this beautiful chapel open up at the end of like this cobbled road. So we thought, we'll have a walk down there and take some photos of it. Then there were 3 restaurants on the right-hand side. We looked at the first one, we were going to sit down there and didn't. Then we walked along to the second one, thought, no, that looks too dead. And then as we walked to the third one, right at the end of this street, I just looked and I turned to her and I said, that's Paolo Maldini. And she like yelped. And he was just sat down there with this guy. I don't know who the guy was. From the back, he looked a bit like Nedved, but it wasn't him. Could have been someone from Al Ittihad or Manchester United, based on the rumors that have come out. But yeah, we sat like diagonally across the table. Didn't make a scene, obviously, because he was eating or he was having a coffee with this guy. And then we sort of said to each other, right, when he gets up to leave, we'll we're not going to run over, but we'll just walk over and say, oh, can we have a photo? His mate dashed off to pay the bill. And as he was like putting his jacket on, I just walked over and said, Paolo, please can I have a photo? And he told his mate, oh, just give me a minute. I'm going to do a photo, which was really nice. He didn't have to do that. I felt a bit bad because he'd just eaten. But yeah, he took time to have a photo with both of us. I said thank you and said Forza Milan. He didn't say it back, so I think he hates the club now. But what a lovely guy. And a few people were shocked that I'm taller than him, and I can confirm that I tower over Maldini. Not tower over him. He's 6'1" and I'm 6'3", but I just give him a look as if to say I'd beat you in the air if it came to it. I
think that's a wonderful story, but you do talk about your girlfriend a lot. You know that?
Yeah, no, I need to stop doing that. Yeah, we had a guy who used to be a co-host on the podcast who used to talk about his loss. I just hope there's some consistency in the comments with that. But yeah, it was a total chance encounter. Like we could have taken any of the various turnoffs that we planned to do, but we ended up right there. I was shaking afterwards, to be fair, because it is a dream come true. And he's not listening, but I would just say thanks to him for taking the time to take a photo, because he didn't have to do that. Whether he went to the game, I don't know. I didn't ask him any other questions. I didn't want to waste any more of his time. But yeah, it was a very cool moment. And then obviously we went and got the win against PSG. So it was a bit of a dream day, really. Right, we'll wrap it up there. I know you boys have got places to be and people to see. So thank you to everybody who listened all the way this week. Appreciate that the mid-international break ones can be a bit dry in terms of topics, but hope you enjoyed it anyway. And as I said, go check out the Substack for last week's bonus and the one that we're going to upload in a few days' time if you want a bit more from us. I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. Find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. AJ, cheers for joining.
Yep, thanks for having me. I won't be here for the next main episode. I might be here for the bonus if we record on like Wednesday or something, and then
we are
Friday.
doing.
Okay, then yeah, I'll be here for the bonus. So if you miss me, tune in, subscribe to Substack. If you don't, then I'll see you on the December 4th when I return to the main episode.
I'm Maddie.
I'm here. I'll be here for the next week, maybe less. Who knows?
What, in the call?
No, on the podcast.
All right, good. Yeah. Goodness sake, if you want to stay here for a week, that's fine. We'll pick it back up then.
Keep the studio warm.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll catch you in a week's time.
Gol! Ancora Teo! È una meraviglia! Il gol di Teo Hernandez da un'area all'altra! È una meraviglia! Senti il mio